So opening the stream for the Netdata Office Hours episode 7. As usual, we keep a couple of minutes after the hour, like 5 minutes after the hour, for people to join. So stay with us, and we'll start soon. In the meantime, I'm sharing the link to our deck that we'll be using on our session today. So if you want to go at your leisure through it, and yeah, it's there for reference. Yeah, so just giving some tips. We are just kind of waiting a couple of minutes for people to join the stream. Hopefully, audio is okay. Me and Shyam were before the time kind of checking things, so hopefully all is good. So yeah, just kind of waiting some minutes before we start.
I see all the usual suspects joining.
I see that we have already quite a few people on the stream, so probably it should be okay for us to start since we will still be doing some intros on the presentation. So I'll be sharing my screen, and also today, if you notice, we have Shyam here with us, so he's also going to be part of sharing a part of the stuff we need to share. So welcome, Shyam.
Thanks, Hugo.
So, jumping into today's topic, today's office hours is going to be focused on some spotlight events. Um, as we have been sharing in the past, the focus of this slot or this community space is not just for us to share spotlight things we want to announce. If from the community there's topics, questions, or even if someone wants to share and come here on stage and share some kind of use case or some kind of a fancy things that you're doing with Netdata, you are more than welcome to join us. So you just need to uh, reach out to us either on Discord or an email to us, and we would love to have you participating on this. And again, if you have topics, just send them out, and we'll for sure try to incorporate them on future episodes. In the meantime, of course, we'll be still doing this stuff and try to always keep a cadence, let's say, of these events and sharing things we think it might be interesting to you. So just to reiterate that this is not just our spot; it's also your spot. Um, today's agenda, as usual, is like the spotlight, then the open slot for questions, then we'll share some questions and feedback that we collected from the community spaces like the forum, Discord, and just kind of do a summary of the things that were brought. In terms of the spotlight, we have like three main topics, and the first one is going to be around the alerts configuration manager, which is a feature we are actively trying to get through. So we are on the keyway stage and completing our dogfooding of this, and hopefully soon it will be at your hands and available for you to also play with it. Then we'll jump into some collectors enhancements that we've been working on based on some feedback and some requests that we got also from the community around these two domains about virtual machine monitoring and the UPS monitoring. And then we'll close with the Netdata Assistant chat mode. So adding more to our Netdata Assistant that was introduced on the alert troubleshooting. Now we'll also have kind of a teaser, let's say, on what we are planning to do on this chat mode. So without further ado, let's jump to the first topic. So this is, as I mentioned, the alert configuration manager. This is the initial iteration on what we are considering to be the central alert configuration manager. We want to reach to the stage where you can create the alerts centrally on the UI, and you should be able to push it to your nodes with just one click. So, of course, deciding which nodes will get this alert definition or where the alert definition will be applied. So that's the end game. But still, having this wizard available on the UI as a kind of initial step towards the end game, it's already helpful. We know there's some documentation, of course, on the alerts, and there's some questions upcoming on the community and on Discord. So hopefully, this kind of wizard will help facilitate this alert definition, alert creation. So this is just a screenshot. I think this one is better for me to demo it to you, so you can kind of see what we are speaking about. So this is still our testing environment. As I mentioned, this is still on our dogfooding and testing stage. There will be two places where you can interact with this alerts configuration manager. So directly from a chart, there's going to be an icon or alert configuration icon that you can click, and it will automatically open to you the assistant or the wizard. And here you have some kind of a helper kind of a form where you can start defining what you want to be triggered on. So this is going to be on system CPU because it's the chart I was coming from. And then you can define how you want to trigger the alert, if it's by threshold, if it's by the variance, or if you want to really look at the anomaly rate changes. So you can even specify from here that you want this to trigger based on the anomaly rates. And then you have some simplified kind of a settings that you can review and check. So what is the period you want to check about this? So it's like last 5 minutes, last 15 minutes. Is it the average? Is it the sum? What are the dimensions that you want to check on this alert? And besides these basic settings, you can expand and have more kind of complex things. You can even specify a formula if you want the alert to be triggered based on a formula. And the same thing, and if you see here, you can even check, I want this to apply to a specific node, or I want this to apply to a specific instance because I want a specific CPU core or some specific instance of the chart that I'm looking at. So you can really kind of through the wizard start creating your alert definition, and then you have more things, of course, the threshold definitions, and even with the advanced settings, you can define the delay notification if you want the alert to be delayed X number of seconds before it triggers. So it starts here, and then you can define the successive delays, what's the multiplier of that. And then when there's a de-escalation, you can also specify that. So basically, we try to bring, and in this case, there's some agent-specific things because we don't have like repeat alert notifications on cloud yet. So we try to bring a kind of a condensed wizard from across all the options that you have on alerts. And of course, in the end, you should specify the template name or the alert name.
We've heard all the feedback from everybody about how.
And it's just clicking on it you get like the definition. You just need to deploy it on your agent, either directly on the agent or using some infrastructure as code tool like Terraform or Ansible, and you can then set it up to your agent. So this is kind of the initial game. So this is the what we are trying to bring as a first iteration.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Hugo, can you hear me?
Try to check on messages if there's anything to mention.
I think Hugo can't hear me.
That. I think, yeah, nothing.
Can you hear me, Hugo?
I cannot hear you, Shian. Let me.
I think the others can hear me though. So I'm just going to go ahead. So I just wanted to say that we've been collecting the feedback that everybody's had on how alerts can be pretty involved on Netdata. It's in some cases it's almost like you can hear this. You need to learn like a custom language, right? How alerts are written, and it has all these dozens of different fields with different meanings. So what we're trying to do with this is get it to a stage where you don't really need to learn the alerts configuration language. You should just be able to select things and get your alerts automatically created. This is step one, like Hugo mentioned. Eventually where we want to get to is that you should be able to just push this alert from here, and you should also be able to see things like when you're defining an alert, you need to be able to see, based on the threshold that I've just set, how often would this alert have triggered, right? Because you don't want to create an alert and then get like 100 emails in the next hour. So that's really important. So we want to be able to show when you set something that, based on the results based on the metrics that we already have from your infrastructure, what you're defining now would have triggered X times, right? So that's the idea. I hope you can hear me now, Hugo. Please go ahead.
I can. I think my phone's died in the middle. I'm not sure. My mic still played, but yeah, my phone's died. So thanks, Jan. And sorry for the hiccup. So this is basically, I mean, this is not a small feature. It's a big feature that we are working on, and hopefully it will help you a lot. But in terms of demo, this is it. And besides, as I mentioned, this is going to be available on creating a new alert directly from the charts, and you will also be able to edit the alerts that are the default ones. Let's say those that come out of the box with Netdata. So you will be able to also open an alert definition that is available on the agent and then make changes to it. Again, initially, you need to copy the output that will come out of that, deploy it on the agent, but soon, hopefully, you'll be able to just with a click send it out to your agents and deploy this alert definition straight to the agents. Cool. So just checking if there's any questions or anything worth mentioning. So I think we are good. Going to the next two topics, which are around the collectors enhancements. So as we said, we have been kind of also listening to the feedback and requests that we see coming around virtual machines monitoring, in this case, VMware, vCenter. And we have recently reviewed our charts, added some more labels to the charts, like host, data center, cluster, so you can easily kind of slice and filter the data that you're seeing on the charts. Reviewed also metadata on the alerts, and also an important thing that unfortunately we're not going to be able to demo it is we added those summary charts that you have usually on top of the table of contents. This unfortunately we cannot show it because we have some hiccup on our lab environment with this. But to at least, let's say, in terms of the collector, we show here on the README, we have this like the changes that were done on the metrics, the new labels that were added. You can easily go through this and just check what is going to be available for you there. And this will also become available on the when we have this, let's say, these integrations. So when we go to the integrations and you go to the VMware stuff, this will be available here. The only catch is that since this is a Go Deep plugin collector, we are depending on the release of this collector, so it gets pulled into our integrations kind of reference. So this is planned to be like next week. It should all be synced up. But in the meantime, if you want to take a look and to take a peek of what's available, you should go to the README and just kind of go through that. So as I mentioned, this one I'm not able to demo it. So let's go straight to the one about the UPS. Here it's kind of the same thing. We saw also we had to migrate this to the GoDeep plugin collector. So that's one thing that we wanted to do. But we also saw this is being a very used collector, and we also had some questions, some requests around this, and so we decided to also improve the labels around the metrics and the charts, and we included some kind of metrics like UPS name, device model, device serial, and we even created a demo room so you can even play with it by your own. So if I go to, let me go back to the demo room that we have, that is the UPS, you're going to be able to see, again, some summary charts. So in our case, this is monitoring two devices that we have on our labs connected to a node that is kind of monitoring this. And you have some charts about like the top load, top output, power output, battery charge indications, and then runtime, the estimated runtime for each of the devices. And if you go to the charts, as I mentioned, this you can see all the labels that are available across these metrics, across like the UPS name that you have. So here it's a CP 1500 and the PR 3000, and go through the manufacturer, go through the device type, and here the device serial number if you want to check exactly that. And again, you can use this as usual on our charts. You can say, I want to group this by the UPS name, for example. So I want to see the stats and the charts based on this. And then we have the charts that are available around the UPS details, so load usage, the battery charge, input and output power. So yeah, basically it's like making it more helpful and more meaningful for you to be able to slice this data and have more kind of metadata associated to the metrics on this. And again, if you go to the presentation, you can go to this demo room. There's no authentication needed, so it's open to anybody. And if you want to play with these charts and see this by yourself, it's available.
So I think there was also another feature which we haven't mentioned in the slide, but is going to be released in the nightly tomorrow, which is something that a user asked for on Discord, which is to add extra customizability to the weblog collector. So you guys can check it out in Discord to get the background. But the if you want more custom metrics related to Nginx logs, for example, that's not possible starting tomorrow once the release is out. So if you have any monitoring requests, stuff that you want to monitor but you cannot, feel free to kind of hit us up on Discord.
Yeah, and good mention, Shem. I did not mention it as a release, but actually it's on the community questions and feedback. But you guys will be able to see the link to the discussion, like Shem mentioned, and also the PR that was merged recently, and it's also shared there on the chat. So again, we listen to the needs that you might have, so share them with us, and we'll try to accommodate whatever we can and what makes sense towards the product evolution. So I think if there's no questions around this last topic, we can go to the Netdata Chat Assistant.
Okay.
The lead chat.
Yeah. So we've talked about Netdata Assistant in the past. It's our large language model interface kind of built into Netdata that will help you troubleshoot in different ways. And we're taking baby steps here. So the first step was to have the alert troubleshooting guides kind of incorporated into the app. In the past, it used to be on a community forum. You needed to go create something. Somebody needed to go look at it and respond. And, it was a long cycle. And you needed to go outside the app to do it, which is what we've kind of addressed with the Netdata Assistant that exists today. But that was just, phase 1 or even phase 0, you could call it. So now what we're doing is we're introducing a more kind of natural interface, something that most of you might have already used with things like ChatGPT and Bing and all these other tools that allow you to chat with them. So we're going to have kind of a chat interface for Netdata Assistant built into the app. This is going to be part of the new and improved home tab that we're working on. So this is something that we can probably cover in one of the upcoming office hours. But we're making a lot of changes to the home tab. We want to make it actually more useful, something that people would actually want to go to and get a summary or an insights of what's going on before diving into the overview tab and all the other charts. So chat mode, again, we're doing this in iterations. In the first iteration that we're working on right now, you can talk to it about anything related to Netdata, and it will answer you based on the latest documentation that we have, all of the latest written information that we have, either within the company or within the community, and even information that's generally available on the internet. So it can help in terms of troubleshooting alerts. If you have questions about how do I optimize Netdata agents performance, or how do I set up a parent node, or how do I increase my retention, and these questions could be more specific as well. You could say, I have these many number of nodes, I want to deploy it on this particular kind of environment, and it should be able to help you, right? And if it's not able to help you, that means that there's something wrong with our documentation. So this is also a way of letting us know that we need to go work on certain areas inside our documentation to make it better. So what it cannot do in this space is that you can't ask live data or live metrics to the assistant. This is something that we still want to address in the future. So you should be able to ask, for example, like give me a list of stuff that's anomalous right now, or tell me when my CPU hits 90%, whatever, right? Like, because you should be able to interact with the data that Netdata has access to. But that's probably the next phase, because it's a bit more trickier to get that working really accurately. So the first stage is interacting with all of the Netdata documentation, and this could be helpful as well, because the documentation can be a bit scary place to find some things at sometimes, because there's a lot of information there. So the assistant will give you an answer, but it'll also give you a link to the relevant documentation. So it's kind of an easier way to search for it, and it's in app, so it's always there. And you can't ask the Netdata assistant how to bake a cake, or why dogs are better than cats, or vice versa, or any of those stuff at the moment, at least. We can maybe do a quick demo of assistant. Let me see if I can share my screen. So this is not running inside the Netdata app right now. This is just a prototype, that we're using to do our testing internally. But the backend of it is basically how it would work. So you can ask, for example, thing like this. And it takes a little bit of time for thinking at the moment. When we integrate it with the app, it shouldn't take this long. It should get faster, right? You can see, it talks about the nightly and the stable release, what you should be using, gives you suggestions. It can give you like commands and stuff from the documentation. And it also gives you links to the documentation, right? So this is how we envision this being used. For example, how can I set up streaming is something that you can ask. And you get these nice kind of detailed step-by-step instructions on how to do stuff, right? Plus, nice link to go to and find out more. So if you're interested in playing with an early version of this assistant, just reach out to me on Discord, because we're looking for beta testers, just to see if we can iron out in any scenarios where Netdata Assistant is hallucinating, because there have been a few of those which we've caught internally. In some cases, it can hallucinate in quite funny ways. But there's a lot that you can experiment with and try to find out what you could do here. You could ask for, what does this specific configuration parameter do? and give an example for it, or you can ask, does Netdata monitor this particular metric? Give me a list of the Netdata metrics or the metrics that Netdata monitors for a particular service. All those kind of things, right? That you might have pop up in your head while you're using Netdata. Yep, that's pretty much it. So, like I said, if anybody is interested in trying this out, just reach out to me, and as soon as we have something that's ready for beta testing, I can share with you guys. Back to you, Hugo.
Thanks, Jan. And very cool stuff coming in. And as you heard, so if you're up for some beta testing on this, just reach out to us, and it will be amazing to run this through more people than just us internally. So having completed the kind of the spotlight topics, just making a brief pause to see if there's any questions, anything you guys would like to discuss from what was presented, or anything that you'd like to ask before we jump into the catch of the feedback and questions from community throughout this week. I see some questions about cake, but yeah, the assistant will not help that yet, and some coffee as well. A good question about the alert config. This, in fact, is going to be a paid feature. We are kind of nailing this kind of a commodity, this kind of customizable things to be around the paid plans, and in terms of paid plans, we are also doing some work to revisit that, and because the price we ask for the paid plan should not be like a friction point. It should be something people should be willing to pay to get the value they would get from a product like Netdata. So indeed, this new feature is going to be part of the paid plans. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, hopefully this wizard will help with making some translation to the alarm language, as Zagzag is saying. So yeah, this is also one of our goals, to make it easier for you to interact with it. We know at some point we'll need to revisit some of the definition, the alert definitions, but yeah, it's this is an easier first step, let's say, towards making it simpler.
And just something that I wanted to talk about in general is even if we are going to come up with future paid features, we do want to have a period where it will be available for everybody, so that all of you can try it out, share your feedback, so that you don't have to be on a paid plan to just try something out. So that's something that we're working on. So we should have something soon on that front.
Good point. So it seems there's no questions coming up, so we can probably continue, and if something comes up, we can keep an eye on the chat. So as usual, to end up these office hours, we are gathering the questions and feedback from the community. So the first one is what Shyam was sharing. So we had an example of a user that was asking on having some custom numeric fields and getting some metrics of count values of that. And this was not available. We will be able to do some aggregations and some counts on time values. So it was really strict to the time values. So we made this more flexible, and we allow this to be now over some other numeric units other than the time in milliseconds. So there's a link to the Discord discussion. There's a link to the GitHub issue, and this will be available, let's say, on the nightly. So if you're using Weblog collector, you'll be able to take a stab at this and try to see how it plays out for you. So that's the first one. Another one was a question from a user that was asking how they could set up Netdata to run through Cloudflare tunnels. So they had a Netdata parent and was collecting multiple metrics from multiple child nodes that were reporting to it. but these had some dynamic IPs, and so they had to use Cloudflare tunnels to be able to stream the data to the parent node. The users were able to kind of discover this by themselves, and they even shared a detailed guide step by step on Discord how this was achieved. And we actually incorporated this guide into our documentation. And here, of course, kudos to the users that were able to help out on this. And hopefully, some users have this kind of need or this kind of face this situation in the future. You can reference to this and be able to set it up yourselves as well. Another one is a question that came up, I think, probably twice recently this last week, which is where to find plugin and alert configuration files. There seems to be some kind of confusion between the default configuration files that are installed on like user lib netdata or other opt directly depending on the installation. And these are just kind of for references for you to see, and for the shell script that we provide with the agent, the edit config, to use it as a kind of as a source. So if you want to edit and if you want to add new configurations, you should do it under the etc netdata or the opt netdata, again depending on the installation that you have. And this is the place where you will define your own configs using again the shell script that is provided that can do this for you. So that's the trick. This is the place where the configuration files should be done, not the default ones. So to complete, like 3 more just to complete this, there's also a question that comes up sometimes about the Windows data not appearing on the Notes tab page. So if you see the Notes tab page as some kind of default definition that you have for CPU, memory, load, and network kind of metrics. And these metrics are kind of what we show on a standard, let's say, standard normal installation, like a Unix or Linux machine. When you monitor Windows with Netdata, we are doing this through a remote monitoring setup. So we get the metrics from a Prometheus Windows exporter, and from a Linux machine, we scrape those metrics. And you can even define this remote monitoring, this node that is going to be remotely monitored, as a virtual node. So inside your dashboard and the Netdata dashboard, it will be displayed as a node by itself. But in fact, it's not a real node. It's a virtual node that is being monitored through a Linux machine. And that's the reason why the metrics that you see on this Notes tab for the Windows machine differ. They have like the Windows prefix, and they cannot. And for those nodes, they will show empty if you don't change the definition of your war room. We have, of course, a goal to revisit the way these metrics are defined and making them kind of agnostic of operating system as part of even of the open telemetry standards. But in the meantime, while we are not there yet, a suggestion that you could have is if you could separate these nodes by multiple rooms, you can change the definition of the nodes tab for a specific room and decide which metrics you want to display. So if you have Windows nodes, you should remove the Linux specific ones or the FreeBSD specific ones, and then just display the Windows ones. So that's a suggestion that you could do to start see some Windows metrics directly on the Notes tab on Netdata. Moving probably to the next one, there was a question about how to do custom Netdata metrics in Golang. So here is more pointing to documentation and an example that we have on GitHub. So you can write a collector in Go and kind of a starting point example that you can use as a reference. And the last one was about a report from a user that he wanted to have an alarm triggering if a chart didn't reach 0 over X number of hours. There seems to be there was some issue with the way the metric values for the LST engine was being kind of verified. So because when we have, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, we have like 3 tiers in terms of storing data, and these act as a kind of as aggregation. So you start with tier 0 with metrics per second. Tier 1, we start aggregating metrics per minute, and then tier 3 we start aggregating metrics per hour. So when we were making the check of this health engine, and if we went to another tier then other than the 0, we started having these aggregated values. So this was kind of a misleading, the alert validation, because the aggregated values were not showing what was expected, like the chart having 0 value. So there was a change with the PR to make sure when we are evaluating this, we would get the metrics not being aggregated, and then we could correctly reset the alert and properly handle this. And yeah, that's kind of the last topic I had as kind of a reference from among multiple things that we had this week. So just checking if before we wrap up, if there's any question, any feedback. Okay.
So there's a question asking, are there any visualizations of the DB engine tier usage? That's a good question. Let me just check.
Yeah, from Luis. We have some stats. If we go to the, there's in all kind of let me probably go to a signed in version. So there's a section on Netdata about the internal metrics of Netdata. So let me go to.
And there's lots of Netdata metrics there, so it might be a bit hard to kind of find stuff. But specifically to the question, Luis, this is something that we're considering adding to the home tab, so that you have on the home tab a way to tell, what your retention across the different nodes is, how much storage is allocated for it, and eventually maybe even have like some sort of a calculator that you could find out if you want to increase your retention, how much extra storage you would need.
Yeah, but I think I remember seeing a metric on here. Probably it's not a good time to do this while live running, but for sure, I think if it's not there, it will be surfaced on the home tab, and yeah, if we find it, we'll make sure to share it with you. Oh, but it seems Andy is saying that he doesn't think there is one, but yeah, probably there's a future request for this. So if there's nothing else, just yeah, I think all the other ones were kind of discussed on the chat already. So I think we are good. So thanks for being here with us. And as I mentioned in the beginning, if there's any topic, any question, anything you'd like to see discussed on this slot on this time, share it with us. We'll more than gladly bring it up for others to also collect the value from it. So again, thanks, and see you on the next one in 2 weeks.
Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the feedback. See you later, guys.
See ya. Bye.